Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. Yeah, my name is Zaria. If you have not been here before, I make financial freedom, veganism, and personal growth content, especially centered around spirituality. If those things interest you, be sure to check out my channel. I definitely have some videos that are on my channel in the description that are kind of around the same topic as this if you would like to check those out. So yeah, let's get into it. Today's video, this is part 2 of the power of research, or how to research. If you have not watched part 1, I highly suggest, I kind of demand, no, I just highly suggest. It's in the cards right now. We talked about how to research in different aspects of life and just in general, and how great it is for you, what it does for you, what can be hindered in life if you don't have it. So yeah, be sure to check that out. Today's video, we are talking about one of those subtopics we talked about in part 1 a little bit more. We're hitting on that money. We're talking about money a little bit more. So I have just a little list. You know, so far I've been liking to pull out lists. So this is 10 things you need to understand and research about your finances. So they're also kind of tips. So not all of them are like exactly research points, but also tips in general about research and about this whole process and what it does for you. So number 1 is a tip, and that is when you're thinking about your finances, you need to always keep in mind that every decision you make about your finances is either going to help or hinder your future self. And by that I mean, if you decide to open a new credit card account and you're only using it for gas, and you pay it off like on time, always, and you only use like that 9% or whatever of your credit limit, you're being responsible with your credit card. That's gonna help your future self. It's gonna build credit for you now, so that in the future, your future self can use that credit to get a house or sign a lease on an apartment, get a car. Like, you're helping your future self with that decision. If you decide to open a credit card account and you just wanna go shopping and you max it out the first time, and then now you're paying the minimum on it because you just don't wanna pay more, that's hindering your future self. It's not gonna help your credit score at all to be doing that. And it's giving your future self more problems and more things to have to navigate to get to the goals that you've set for yourself later on in the future. Yeah, that's tip number 1. And I've also, with these tips and the things that I say in these videos, they're things that I most definitely have learned before, I've struggled with before, and this is something I just now understood and am integrating in my life and in the way I think about money. What video was it? I'll link it down below because I can't remember what it is right now, but it's in the description. I was talking about how my mindset and the way I think about money has just completely shifted. It's completely different, and this is one aspect of it. Okay, number 2. So the first thing when it comes to researching your money and how to research your money and understand your finances, you need to get organized and start tracking and knowing where everything is for your finances. You need to know what works for you, like what system. Do you need to cash stuff? Because if it's all on electronic accounts, it doesn't feel like real money. Do you need to have your money set up in all these separate accounts, and then have all your automatic drafts coming out of one? You have to go pay that in cash coming out of another. Like, what system is gonna work for you in terms of where you keep your money? And then what systems are gonna work for you in terms of how you track your money. So are you going to use a software? Are you going to keep it written down and balance your checkbook? And some softwares include Mint. There's QuickBooks if you're a small business. I like to use Excel sheets. Well, I use Google Sheets, but you can use Excel sheets. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to track your expenses and your spending and all of your finances. And then there's also a bunch of different ways to keep your money, different places to keep your money. So yeah, that's number 2. Oh, also with number 2 and tracking, so keeping track of everything that has to do with your finances, you need to make sure you're keeping track of the past, the present, and the future. So by the future, I don't just mean like, oh, a wish list or a wish like dream budget or whatever. I'm talking about if you're in college right now and you took out student loans, you're gonna have to pay those back once you leave college, and you know that already. They already have an estimator tool for you to figure out how much your student loan payment will be after college. So a way to help make sure that you know what your expenses are in the future, because these are set expenses that are going to happen, is to make sure you track them somewhere. And that helps, like if that's the scenario you're in, once you graduate college, you know what income, the bare minimum you need to make sure you cover those expenses. It's like, that's that. So number 3, now that I've mentioned expenses, we're on expenses. And with your expenses, you need to, we're going to talk about some of these separately, but you need to go ahead and list your bills. So like your rent, your utilities, if you have a car note, like those bills, and certain things, depending on how you categorize them for yourself, you need to identify your sinking funds. So some people may think that a car is a sinking fund, like a payment on a car, because it depreciates in value as soon as you drive it off the lot and over time. Some people might not see it as a sinking fund. They might see it as an investment in their life because it's a way for them to get around. They have property now, like they see it as more of an investment. So that's also something we'll talk about later, investments. All right, also with expenses, keep a list of all your subscriptions and the things that are automatic payments. Make sure you keep a separate list of those so you know what needs to be in your account before that date, because it's gonna come out. They're gonna take it out. So when does it need to be there? And then list any other necessary expenses. So if you have, you're gonna have groceries or a food bill, and by bill, I just mean a budget. And then if you have pets, you're gonna have money you set aside to pay for your pets. If you have medical things you need to take care of that month, you're gonna have money you set aside for medical expenses. So those are necessary expenses. All right, we're gonna talk about sinking funds next. So I kind of mentioned it with the car, and some people see the car as a sinking fund because it is technically a debt you're paying off. Most people finance their cars and they take out a loan for it, and then they're paying back on the loan over time. Once the loan is paid off, then they fully own the car. But that's a debt, and debts are sinking funds. You're not receiving a return or an investment back when you put money into that. Not even an investment into yourself or just like replenishing you and yourself and your energy. Like the grocery bill, it is an investment into yourself. Number 5, I have no idea why. I feel like this video and the video I filmed earlier was a little short. I'm kind of batch filming videos today. So if you see my shirt 2 or 3 times, it's the same day. Yeah. So Number 5 is savings. And with your savings, so far I've just been talking about what you need to know about each of these things. These are the things you need to research within the space and the scope of with the world and community wise, like finances that way, averages of rent, averages of like to make sure you're not paying over certain things or over market price, market value, and then researching within your own documents and your own spending history and your own income assessment to understand what the answers to all these questions are. But moving on to number 5. So number 5 is savings, and you need to know what you need to save. So what you need to save is, honestly, it's up to the person and it's really personalized. Some people want to have or want to say they need to have like 3 months of full expenses set aside in a savings account. So every month that they need to save a certain amount to build up to that or to add to it. Some people say 6 months. Some people just want to make sure they have 1 month. It just all depends on your expenses and the way your life is, the way your income is set up. So that's all, it's all subjective. And if you guys want a video specifically on figuring out how much to save and how much to invest, like set aside for investments, just get down in the comments and let me know, and I will get on that video. I would be happy to do it, so just let me know. You also need to know what you want to have saved, because what you need to have saved and what you want to have saved are different. I would definitely, for need to have saved, suggest at least having saved whatever your average monthly emergency expense is, because most people have an emergency expense that comes, or a sudden expense that comes kind of regularly enough to know what that would look like kind of roughly once a month. So I would suggest at least having that for your needs, but that's also personal. For wants, I would suggest, and this is for or this is what I do on my budget for wants and my savings. I try to make sure that I save off a portion of like stuff that's just like, for me, if I want to get something like a bigger purchase later, but I don't even know what it is, I'm just gonna want to buy it later, I just set off a little portion, a little percentage aside in a savings account to go towards that. Okay. So also, speaking of saving for specific things, if you know in the future you're going to want to, in 6 months, you want to move to a different state, that's something specific in the future that you're going to need to save for. So make sure you're taking account of that and you're researching what amount that should be. Okay, number 6. Y'all, if I sound weird, my nose is stuffy. I don't know why. It's just a little stuffy. Okay, number 6, investments. So investments is all about making your money make money for you. You don't have to do too much with it, just let it make money for you. And sometimes some people do a little bit extra work to have their money make money for them. And that could be like if you go shopping around in antique shops for old, really nice antiques, and you refurbish them and then you resell them. That's kind of a side hustle, but it's also an investment. It's investing in older pieces, refurbishing them. That's like investing more resources and money and time into them. And then you sell it for a profit. It turns money back over to you. And the refurbishing, you could also just be paying someone else to fix it. You might not be investing your time you might just be investing in services from someone else, and now your money has returned something for you once you sell it. Investments come in short-term and long-term, and I think the easiest way to explain that would be with stocks. So if you trade in stocks, and this is very oversimplified, so nobody who knows stocks come for me, but if you trade in stocks and you put, let's say you buy 1,000 shares in Walmart, you buy those shares at like, I don't know, $100 each. So you bought $100,000 worth of shares, and you waited like 2 months, and the price of the Walmart shares went up by like 50%. So 50% of 100,000 is $50,000. Now you have a return of $50,000. So that came within 2 months. You took it out. That was just short term. But if you left it in for like 5-10 years, however long, and had a return, like an average return of like 300%, then you would get $300,000 back over a longer time. And that doesn't mean that just because you wait a longer time, the percentage of, or the rate of the stocks will be higher than if you just did it at a shorter time. I'm just giving an example. So yeah, that's short-term versus long-term investment. Okay, number 7 is spending. And with your spending, you need to start looking at your bank statements. And I know it's probably gonna hurt your heart a little bit the first time you do it, if you haven't done it before, but you need to look at your bank statements and you need to actually understand what you spend your money on. Because just because you budget out and say you're gonna spend your money on this, did you actually spend your money on that? What did you spend your money on? You need to make sure you know what you usually spend your money on, so you can adjust different areas of the budget as necessary, and so that you can implement either stricter or looser restrictions for yourself with your money. So also with your spending, you need to know what you want to be spending and how much you need to be spending. So how much do you need to spend to pay for your bills and to just make you content and happy and get you something nice for yourself once a month or something, or however many times you get yourself something nice? How much is that? Because that's the necessary to me. How much you want to be spending is, you need to address how much money you really want to be spending. Do you want to err on the side of like the cheaper side, or do you not mind being less frugal? What exactly? You need to figure out what your wants with spending are. Okay, number 8 is income. So how much do you bring in? How much do you need to bring in? And how much do you want to bring in? You need to know all 3 of those because they impact everything. And by everything, I mean, if your income is something and you want something else, that impacts whether you change a situation about your life. You change jobs, or you ask for a raise, or you change locations. Like, income is something that impacts more than just your finances, so you need to make sure you're paying attention to that. Spending does as well, but make sure you're paying attention to income. Okay, number 9 is readily available funds. And you need to know this in case of emergencies, in case of like something has gone wrong, maybe identity theft, I don't know. You just need to know where and how much readily available funds you have, you want, and you need. what kind of readily available funds are you gonna have? Are you gonna have multiples? Or are you only gonna have one kind? Is it gonna be cash? Is it gonna be you keep a separate account but you never get the debit card, so it's hard for you to move the money? Like, how are you gonna keep your readily available funds, and how much is it gonna be? Yeah. All right. Number 10 is, now once you've done all that research on all those other things, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to do that research. It's time to budget. So I actually really like to budget. My friend, or you guys know Angie, she's been on the channel. Angie told me about a game that her high school econ teacher made them play with the budget, and I played it one night and had her give me the instructions, and I was having the time of my life. But yeah, I do like to budget, and I'm definitely going to be holding a specific video on how to budget and just how to actually make a budget, what all entails actually doing the budget, because these are all the aspects of a budget, the 2 through 9 that I talked about, but they don't tell you how to put it all together. So that's what the budget video will be about. So make sure you're watching out for that. If you just hit the bell notification next to the subscribe button, you don't have to keep coming back to the channel and checking. It sends you a little notification. So hit that bell notification and you'll know every single time we upload. Yeah. So let me talk about how to do all this research for a second. Because I touched on it briefly earlier, and I was saying how you Google and you research within yourself, but really make sure you're going with the now and what you have now and what you've been recently doing within the past 2-3 months. Don't try to fix this budget and these numbers based on something in the future or something in the past that was ideal. Make sure you're using your actual situation, your current, the real. Make sure you're using reality. So yeah, that was the last thing. That's all for today. I hope you guys really enjoyed. I hope you learned something. I know I did. Thank you all for watching. Make sure you get down in the comments below. Check the description box for things to comment or the next video to watch. Like the video, subscribe, and when you subscribe, hit the bell notification and you'll know when we upload, which is every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. Once again, thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful day.